Brunch can get crazy. Everyone wants to brunch, and there are only so many places to brunch. Hi, friends. It's Palmer. No Pinto. Yeah, maybe he'll join us. We'll see. Keep your eye on the door. I was in Charleston this weekend for a friend's 40th birthday. It was a surprise party, and it went great. I hosted as James Lipton. It was a blast. For some context, I lived in Charleston for like 16, 17 odd years. I did my undergrad there and stuck around, and I worked in the tourism industry for almost half of that time. I still go a couple times a year to see friends. Something about this particular visit reminded me that Charleston is a lot. In terms of space, it's like a 5 square mile peninsula. I think that space limitation kind of magnifies the allotness. Charleston's been a tourist destination like since before the Civil War. That's not really new. Seems like just more people than ever are trying to visit and squeeze into this tiny little peninsula at the same time, and they're all trying to get into Chubby Fish the exact same night you are. The city is small, and it has an uncommonly high occurrence of great restaurants that people really want to get into. The older generation tends to really love like Peninsula Grill, Fig. Everyone under 50 is trying to get a seat at 167 Raw. Brunch is big business. People want aesthetic coffee. If you hang out on Spring Street on any given Saturday morning, you're just going to see roving bands of bachelorettes looking for coffee. The point is, it can be a little stressful to try and figure out where to eat. There are lots of options, and lots of places fill up quickly or become overwhelming. Stepped foot in this new bar called By the Way. In my day, we called it Warehouse. I should have known from where in the city this place is, and the fact that it's owned by 2 Southern Charm guys, that it was kind of going to be a shit show. But I stepped in there at 5:30, and it was wall-to-wall packed. Like standing room only. I bailed on it completely. I didn't want to deal with that. Sometimes you don't want to deal with the chaos of a super popular destination. Sometimes you just want to keep things low key. So this is my low key Charleston list. As a former local who's seen the stuff and done the popular things and been the places. These are places that I know I'm going to get a consistently great meal, and I'm not going to be overwhelmed by tourists. Some of these places were places that were super popular when they first opened, and things have just kind of mellowed out over time. Some of these places are just a little bit off the beaten path from sort of that main King Street byway that most tourists sort of stick to. Anyway, these are my picks. So if you are, say, visiting Charleston for a work trip, and you just kind of happen to be there, you want good food, but you don't want to try and get a reservation, this video's for you. If you're planning a trip to Charleston and you just want some solid options that aren't must-dos, down to stand in line for one meal, but not all of them, you want some good plan Bs, this list is for you. If you're like me and you've been to Charleston plenty and done and seen a lot, you just want to eat well, you just want good chill vibes and good food, this list is for you. These are places that I've been enjoying for years. They're just good, easy places to walk in and be well fed. No hype, just eats. I'm going to do these by time of day I recommend you go, or like what meal I recommend you go for. My first low-key pick is going to be for low-key happy hour, and I'm going to say Edmund's Oast for this one. As far as the type of food, they describe themselves as fine casual restaurant, brew pub, and cocktail bar. There's definitely a lot of Southern influence on this menu, and they definitely like to make the most of locally sourced ingredients. You're going to find pimento cheese, local fish and shrimp stew, like New Orleans barbecue escargot, fried chicken, garlic fried chicken. I didn't even see that until I was reviewing the menu for this video, and now I want to know more about it. There's also a lot of Asian influence on the menu. There's curried vegetables, meat crop salmon, but there's also like 2 great cheeseburgers and char-grilled steaks. They keep the menu interesting, and I really appreciate that. The vibes here are kind of cozy inside and laid back, breezy outside. I'll talk a little more about the inside-outside dynamic here in a moment. Gives kind of upscale tavern vibes a little bit. A location, this is what's called the Nomo neighborhood of Charleston. It's on the peninsula. Nomo means North Morrison. It's near Home Team Revelry Brewing, Goat, Sheep, Cow, North's location, that part of town. Price point, you're going to see like about $15 for apps. The menu is, again, pretty varied, so I'm just going to give you a range. It's like, you're going to see like $16 for a burger up to like $62 for a New York strip with lots in between. I actually think these food prices aren't bad for the full experience you're getting here. Beers are in the $8 to $9 range, and cocktails are around $15. They do usually have special happy hour prices. I completely neglected to notice them. But if I recall correctly, you will see their beers and some cocktails and bites on the happy hour menu as well. To me, Edmund's Oast really seems like a remarkable kind of little slice of Charleston beer history, sprung from a shop called the Charleston Beer Exchange that used to reside on Exchange Street downtown. Charleston Beer Exchange opened in 2008. It was the first place in town to offer growler fills. It's one of the city's first places to buy really high quality, well curated domestic and imported beer. I think my own craft beer education really started here. It was a very memorable shop. They obviously brought their love of craft beer very much to bear on the experience here at Edmund's Oast. It was also like a really remarkable space for the city when it opened as well. We'd seen a few craft bars in the city up to then. R.I.P. CFB. But there was nothing really on this scale, and I think the careful curation here really continues to stand out. Stood out at the time, but continues to stand out among the kind of beer-focused bars in the city to this day. It remains, in my opinion, as wonderful as it's ever been. A lot of well-deserved hype around it in the years immediately following its opening, but that's all kind of settled down a little bit. And there's always something new in Charleston. Something has always just opened, and I think people get a little distracted by the new shiny thing and, shift a little bit away from these places that are still fantastic. This isn't to say that Oast is unpopular by any means, and I don't want anyone to think that you can just, stroll in there at any time and definitely find a seat, because I don't think that's true. So they have an excellent outdoor bar called the Bowery, and that is very popular when the weather's nice, which in Charleston it mostly is. And the restaurant here is still well loved and will get busy later in the evening. But if you pop in at an early happy hour time, 5:30, 6:30, you have a good chance of being able to roll into the bar and just grab a seat. Beer is definitely the focus here, as is appropriate. Their tap list is along this incredible wall. I think there were 48 beers on the wall when I went. And these are a mix of obviously Edmund Oast beers, but other beers from Charleston area breweries and beers from other parts of the country, other parts of the world. Again, this is really well curated. I always find there's something exciting, something I've never heard of, something that sounds completely different than any sort of beer I've tried before. So if you're a beer person, I really can't recommend this more highly. If you're a liquor type of person, I do want to mention this one sipping drink they have. It's called the Red Wedding, and it's bourbon Averna. It's a giant ice cube made out of, I believe, hibiscus tea, maybe also some kind of juice. And it starts out as this really very strong liquor drink, but as the ice cube melts, it dilutes a little bit and the drink flavor kind of evolves. I remember it being a big deal when it debuted. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody loved the name. It's still on the menu. It's a people pleaser. So if you're a bourbon person, definitely give that a look. It's such a great space. It's got this long open kitchen window in the back. It gives, again, a little bit of tavern, a little bit of hunting lodge, maybe rustic, cozy. Now, I still am doing dry January, and they had a number of NA options. I actually wish I'd gotten their margarita. They have a collaboration with, I believe, Devil's Foot. Let's see. Collab with Devil's Foot Beverage to do this. It was cold outside. I wasn't in a margarita mood. I can't comment on if it's good or not. I got the phony Negroni, which is great. I actually wish I'd kept the bottle for plant propagation. I'm still upset at myself that I didn't do that. I wish they made a non-alcoholic beer. Such an extensive beer menu. It seems a little odd that they haven't, so Oast, maybe consider that in the future. I think plenty of people would appreciate and enjoy that. On a separate beer note, this was one of the first craft breweries, definitely in the Carolinas, to do a peanut butter and jelly beer. And this was also like a sensation when it dropped. It seems like every brewery does some version of this now, or some version of a peanut beer. This is still the best peanut butter and jelly beer I've ever had. It's lighter on the jelly. It's not too desserty. The peanut nose is really rich. If you're the type of person that likes peanut butter and jelly beer and you haven't had this one yet, I urge you to give it a try. There's your low-key happy hour, Edmund's Oast. Also, as a side note, there are 2 Edmund's Oast locations downtown. The one I've been talking about is sort of the restaurant and brew pub again on Nomo. There is another location that's more the brewery farther north. This is an entirely different experience. It's more casual. I like both places just fine, but the one I've been talking about is definitely my favorite of the 2, so just make sure you know which one you're going to. Low-key dinner. Estadio. Estadio at a glance is Spanish tapas. These are in some ways very traditional and in some ways I think kind of inventive and somewhat modern. The vibes are very bright, colorful, very friendly, very easygoing. Staff here is always so nice. Location, it's on Spring Street, closer to the west side of the peninsula. Price point, most things here are meant to be shared, so to give you a general range, the least expensive item, the pinkstos, these tasty little bites, and like olives are $7. And there are always a few entree-sized options. Flank steak, usually some kind of chicken dish like brick chicken. Those are going to run you around $40, with most things falling between those 2 prices. Cocktails and glasses of wine are in the $13 to $15 range. And parons are $30. If you don't know what a paron is, it's this glass vase type thing that you fill up with wine and pour into your mouth or the mouth of others. And it's super fun. Give it a try. I have been to Estadio many times. I have many fond memories here. I ended up here yet again on this trip, and I'm always kind of shocked that it isn't busier. It may have something to do with its location. King Street, again, is Charleston's main tourist thoroughfare, and Estadio was just closer to the west side of the peninsula, just, a little farther from King Street than most other places. So maybe it just gets less foot traffic. Got some great cheese and charcuterie selections. You'll find some very traditional Spanish tortillas, patatas bravas, pan con tomate. The churros here are so good. In adhering to the traditional Spanish vibes, they have a pretty extensive sherry and vermouth menu. They're big on gin. They make a couple different G&Ts. Also some great NA options. They always have Vichy Catalan, which is this incredible Spanish mineral water that's supposed to have healing properties. I don't really know how to hype up mineral water on here, but it's great. I can't recommend it enough. Bar Avant has it as well. Excellent if you're on a bit of a tear, need to break up your boozing a little bit. Vichy is good in hydration. But they also do a house tonic. So this is the tonic they're using in their G&Ts. And they have an orange flavor of this tonic, and they have a Mediterranean flavor of this tonic. And I don't quite know how to describe the Mediterranean. It's very herbaceous. It really does just kind of taste like a gin and tonic. I got the Mediterranean house tonic, and it was perfect, refreshing, a little bit of bite. Mwah. Great for sharing if you've got someone with you that also is trying to keep things low-key. Definitely worth your time. Next up is low-key coffee. Now, I have to apologize because this is probably the pick that deviates most from true low-keyness. I'm including it on my list for 2 reasons. The first is that there are 2 locations of this place downtown. It's a time of day when one location tends to be very busy. You do have another option not too far away. The second reason is that they make my favorite coffee drink in all of Charleston. No contest. Maybe my favorite coffee drink anywhere. And I just can't not tell you about that, even if it's not always as laid back as the rest of my list. It's worth it. I am talking about babas. Babas at a glance, type of food. This is styled after a European cafe. So early in the day, you're going to have coffee and pastries, usually 1 or 2 light savory options, usually kind of lighter bites. A little bit later in the day, there's sandwiches, quiche, toast, very high quality ingredients, but a casual setting. They do have a caviar sandwich, if that tells you anything. Vibes, they describe themselves as being inspired by the neighborhood cafes and bars of Europe. I do think this actually feels kind of transportive. I love their little sidewalk seating here. You can kind of watch the world bustle by. It is on Cannon Street, just off of King, very close to that main tourist thoroughfare, which is part of why it can get kind of wacky. Price point, you're looking at coffee and pastries in the $5 range, closer to $15 for like your toasts and sandwiches and quiches. Caviar sandwich is $35 if you were wondering. $13 for most cocktails. They do a small bottled G&T, and those are $7. $15 for a glass of wine. So Baba's opened its first location on Spring Street. Baba's on Meeting is their second location. It's a little farther north on the peninsula, also in that Nomo neighborhood I mentioned earlier, and is kind of a collaboration. They share their space with renowned Charleston fromagerie Goat Sheep Cow. I like Baba's for kind of any time of day, but the coffee is really what I'm after, and specifically the peanut mocha. Baba's makes their own peanut milk that they use for this mocha, and it just really brings this nutty richness. The mocha is not overly sweet. It's just very, very satisfying. I actually went 2 mornings in a row this past weekend, one morning at one location, one morning at the other, because I just love this. I love this mocha so much. I think about it when I'm not there, and it's always like the first thing I plan whenever I have a Charleston trip is, when am I going to get to Baba's and get this peanut mocha. I also love their little breakfast tacos. They're really simple. They really fit what I want in the morning. They're savory. They're small. Their pound cake is also incredible. That's my order, my Baba's order. Whenever I visit, peanut mocha, breakfast taco, pound cake. Can't go wrong. So the Cannon Street location is great, but it does get a little loony. This place is very aesthetic. People love taking pictures in here. The food is very aesthetic. And this is a part of the city that is thick with Airbnbs and rental properties. So this is why you tend to see these packs of tourists kind of tromping around. I will say, if there is a line, I find that the staff here is super efficient and the line goes pretty quick. The key for this location really is to just go early on a Saturday, a Sunday, even a Friday morning, because this area is so thick with tourists. A high percentage of people are waking up hungover. So if you can get it kind of early, you can beat everyone to it. And if the weather's nice, you can sit outside and watch the roving bands of bachelorettes as they arise and begin to venture out for caffeine. If you do happen to catch this during those peak morning times when a line is starting to build, I would recommend you check out the Meeting Street location. I'm not saying that this one doesn't get busy, but being a little farther north on the peninsula, off again of that main King Street byway, I find this doesn't tend to get as busy in the morning coffee hours. Anyway, that is my pick for low-key coffee. Get your peanut mocha on. Get your peanut mocha on. Low-key lunch. Low-key lunch. My pick for a low-key lunch is Xiao Bao biscuit. At a glance, the type of food, Asian, and this widely pulls from a lot of different Asian influences, Chinese, Japanese, Thai. None of these dishes are overly Americanized. This isn't like a P.F. Chang's Bang Bang Shrimp situation. There are a number of places in Charleston now doing kind of some version of this, a melange of Asian culinary representation with maybe like a sprinkling of Southern culinary influence mixed in. I'm thinking of like Beautiful South, Jackrabbit Philly, Kwai-Fi. Xiao Bao did it first. You're going to find like a special fried rice of the week. You're going to find mapo tofu. You're going to find okonomiyaki. You're going to find some Szechuan spicy dishes. Actually, some kind of beautiful whole fish, an incredible spicy green papaya salad. The vibes here are casual and easygoing. It can get very like energetic and vibrant in terms of energy in the evenings. People like to come in with groups of friends and folks get chatting and excited and sharing food. In the daytime, though, I find it's pretty chill, pretty quiet. There's a lot of beautiful natural light in this space. This is in one of a number of spaces on the peninsula that used to be a gas station. I really love the feel of the space. Very friendly. Location, it's at Spring and Rutledge. Again, slightly closer to the west side of the peninsula, but still very accessible from King Street. Price point, like $15 to $20 for most things. Owners are a married couple that took a 7-month honeymoon throughout Asia in 2009. So it's very influenced by that time. They also do a lot of their sourcing from local farmers and fishermen as well. They were the first place, I guess still the only place, in Charleston to do an okonomiyaki, and again, big deal when it opened. I've had it a million times now, and it's still so good. I got the vegan mapo tofu. This mapo tofu is always great. If you do get the vegan version, it is more spicy than the original, so be aware, it is real spicy. The NA options here were more kind of juice and soda forward, like Jarritos, Mexican Coke, different kind of nectars. I ended up getting a bottle of sparkling water and a mango nectar and making kind of my own little drink. If you are drinking, they have some great cocktails and usually a good selection of Asian beers like Tiger, Tsingtao, Asahi, that type of thing. Charlotteans might remember this as a booth in Optimist Hall for a little while. I don't know why they didn't last longer. Like Edmonds, this place had tons of hype around it when it opened and in some of the years following. It's mellowed out in the years since, and again, I just think by virtue of like not being the hot newness, it has fallen off of tourist radars a little bit, but it's still fantastic. That is your low-key lunch. Consistently good. Great option to have in your arsenal while you're in town. And those are my low-key picks. I hope you guys enjoyed them. Let me know what you think. If you did like this, if you feel like you learned something, please hit like. If you want more videos about Charleston, Carolina dining, make sure to hit that subscribe. I post new videos every Thursday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.